Welcome to my very first film review. What better way to kick off than with one of my favourite movies, The Shawshank Redemption. I'm going to zoom in on just one little detail that runs like a secret thread through the whole film. And that detail is birds. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. Shawshank is full of them. Not just literal birds, but camera shots that move like birds. And by the end, we realise Shawshank isn't just a prison movie. It's basically a 2.5-hour parable about flight. So buckle up, or should I say spread your wings, because today we're taking a bird's eye look at the Shawshank Redemption. Right from the very first shot, the opening aerial sweep over Shawshank Prison, the film tells us exactly what kind of story this is going to be. We're airborne. We're flying high above the very walls that are about to lock Andy Dufresne inside. Why choose an aerial shot symbolising flying and freedom when Andy is about to be locked in a cage? The movie is subtly telling us right from the outset that Andy's destiny is to fly and be free like a bird. The camera literally flies into Shawshank Prison with Andy Dufresne, and the connection is clear, because what can fly into a place can also fly out. Now, if you think I'm exaggerating or seeing things that aren't there, compare the aerial shot when Andy arrives to when Tommy Williams, the cocky young inmate, arrives later on. Tommy's bus is shot from ground level. The camera is street level. There's no bird's eye camera grace for Tommy. Tommy is earthbound. His character, as we find out later, is doomed. These choices are deliberate by the filmmakers because the camera is basically another character in the movie, and it's one with wings. Fast forward to Andy's first prison breakfast. He finds a live maggot in his porridge. Welcome to Shawshank fine dining. Now, most people would gag and probably just throw the maggot away. Andy, though, he quietly hands it to Brooks, who feeds the maggot to his pet crow, Jake, leaving in his pocket. Now, at first glance, it's just a harsh prison detail, but symbolically, that's the moment Andy links himself to a bird. Even in captivity, Andy's instinct is to nurture freedom. He literally feeds it. Jake is more than a pet. He's a mirror of Andy himself, a creature that doesn't belong in a cage. He's surviving despite his surroundings, just like Andy, and he's waiting for the right moment to stretch his wings and be free. The film keeps aligning Andy with birds, and you'll notice it's always at moments when Andy's moving closer to freedom. Take the rooftop scene. Andy risks everything to get beers for his fellow inmates. And what does the camera do? It cranes up suddenly, and Andy looks perched above it all, like he's already halfway out of prison. Or in the prison library, and of course by this time, Andy has made himself indispensable to the guards and to the warden. In other words, Andy's grown in stature, just like Jake the bird, who we see is now fully grown. Andy's wings are forming. He's still caged, but the escape plan is already in motion. And then there's the beautiful Mozart scene. Andy hijacks the PA system, and suddenly the whole yard looks up at the speakers.
I tell you, those voices soared, higher and farther than anybody in a great place dares to dream. It was like some beautiful bird flapped into our drab little cage and made those walls dissolve away.
It was like some beautiful bird flapped into our drab little cage and made those walls dissolve away. Now that line isn't random. He's literally calling back to the bird imagery. For a few moments, every man in Shawshank is airborne. And finally, the big one. Andy crawls through 500 yards of the worst sewage imaginable. And what does he do when he emerges? He spreads his arms wide like wings, and the camera rises above him. At that point, Andy isn't just free, he's taking flight. But here's the tragic twist. Andy isn't the only one tied to birds. Brooks is too. When Brooks finally gets paroled, he releases his pet, Jake, and Jake instantly takes flight. Because Jake's a bird, and that's what birds do. But Brooks, he can't take flight. He's too institutionalized. Instead of flying, he falls and crashes. Brooks's fate is heartbreaking because he can't adapt to freedom. Red captures this perfectly.
I have to remind myself that some birds aren't meant to be caged. Their feathers are just too bright.
Red is talking here about Andy, but in fact he could just as well be talking about himself. And when Red finally gets his parole, we feel the tension. Will Red go Brooks's way, unable to survive outside? Or will he follow Andy and fly? Watch the camera work here. After Andy's escape, the aerial shots transfer to Red. He looks up at the trees, at the sky, the wind. You can almost feel Andy's wings passing onto him. Andy showed him the way. Now Red just has to take off and fly. And then the final scene. Red walks down the beach towards Andy. The camera pulls back higher and higher until both of them are tiny figures against the ocean. It's the first time the bird's eye view encompasses both of them. Not just Andy, not just Red, but together. By the end, we're not just watching two men walk free, we're watching two souls finally take flight. One moment. Sorry about that, I just had to let Jake out, he needed to stretch his wings. If you love this breakdown, let me know in the comments, please. Really appreciate it. Have you ever noticed the bird imagery in the Shawshank Redemption before? Or is it me? Am I just a guy who's been bird watching in a prison movie? Either way, thanks for flying with me, and I'll see you in the next review.
Where's the canary?
How did you know?
How did I know what?
So you don't know. Come. This is where the canary is, Johnny.
Me?